course this would happen to the Jaguars. Of course. We're cursed. Damn it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Observant Lineman. I am your Observant Lineman, Uche Waneri. What a wild weekend we had. Kickoff weekend was crazy in the NFL. Sunday's games had a lot of noteworthy moments. We're going to get into all of that. But first, I want to talk about the moment that affected me personally. Nick Foles. Yes, Nick Foles has a broken clavicle. This happened in their season opening game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Jaguars quarterback made an amazing throw. I mean, he put a dime from 35 yards out in the end zone over the top from Nick Foles, which was a flash of the brilliance that we were hoping to see from Nick Foles, you know, us Jaguar fans and former Jaguar players, just to subsequently be utterly destroyed, as in that same play, Nick Foles breaks his clavicle. So, let's discuss. The beginning of the Nick Foles era, and on what appears to be an absolutely perfect touchdown throw, 35 yards out, Nick Foles breaks his collarbone. Of course. If you're looking at it, and I'm not at all for one moment going to try and point blame at any player in regards to this happening, because quarterbacks get hit, you know, and this is just an unfortunate consequence of that. Nick Foles gets drove into the ground, but quarterbacks are going to get hit. And I played guard for the Jaguars for 7 years, and I've given up, my fair share of hits as a lineman as well. This is what we would call a nightmare scenario for an offensive lineman. Now, look at your right guard here, number 60. Now, the reason why I'm going over this is just because specifically at the right guard position, that is a position that I played as a starter for Jacksonville for 6 of my 7 years, I was at right guard, and the other year I was at left guard. But as a right guard, this 3 technique that we see here, that's applying that little bit of pressure there towards the end of the throw. AJ Cann is the right guard, and he's on the 3 technique. And AJ, this is purely right guard, another O lineman here, just trying to give a little bit of advice, a little bit of a correction on what you did here from a technique standpoint that allowed for that pressure to be given up. And I know he feels it, because at the end of the day, it was his pressure that gave up the big hit on Nick Foles. But if we're looking at you right here, look at your position. Right now, you have all your weight on your left leg. You have a narrow base, and you're actually staggered right now. So you're on top of yourself with your feet. Your feet are staggered on top of themselves, your position. This 3 technique has the advantage from the very beginning of your block. Now, a few things you got to be aware of here. And we don't get to see this necessarily from the start of the play, but this backer right here on top of the nose, this guy is coming over here. So what they're doing here is they're running a zone blitz where you're going to have a safety that looks like 49, I think is his number. You have I can't tell who this guy is looping around, but you have your 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive linemen. So this is basically a dog blitz. This is a zone dog. Zone dog, you've got somebody coming from the outside. You've got somebody coming from 2 people coming off the edge with the D-line moving away from that to allow for space for them to blitz in. What happens here is, as you get this looper come around, you're going to have your offensive line basically take these guys. Running back has responsibility for the next man over from the call linebacker. And here you see Leonard Fournette going over, picks up his guy. You've got a tight end out here. So you have 2 people for 2 people coming off this edge. Then you have your 4D lineman, or who you count as your 4D lineman, right here. So there's going to be a little bit of help here between the center and the left guard with your tackle waiting on a looper. And that puts these 2 linemen one-on-one. Now, in this situation, with the 3 technique, I look at this and say, in my stance, okay, you see safeties moving around up top before the snap, so be prepared for movement. What you get is a bull rush from your 3 technique. I don't know who that is. I don't really care. That doesn't matter. We're trying to teach something here. You have a 3 technique who's bull rushing you. Last thing you want to do is be stacked on top of yourself. You're vertical. So now any quick movement, one way or another, throws you off your balance. Because of that shock he delivers, because he has his hands inside, you have one arm outside, one arm inside, and you're stacked. He has his hands inside. He has his eyes at the quarterback. He can see the quarterback. Your tackle, he's in great position in front of his defensive end. This is solid. This provides the depth of the pocket. The interior is crucial to the depth of the pocket. This guy is never going to get there. Unless he allows penetration on the inside, this tackle doesn't have too difficult of a job in front of him with this looper. And as you see, this looper runs wide. He's never going to get to the quarterback. These 2 guys are going to be held up long enough for this throw to get out. Now, what you have here is, because you're stacked, he puts pressure on that outside leg by bringing his arm up and pushing you inward, turning his hips, giving him easy access, because now your hips are open. You're on one leg because this leg's in the air. You have no leverage whatsoever. So what's going to end up happening here is, because you have no leverage, he will leak off. And we see that here. No one can help you at this point. As a right guard, he's in a very shitty situation. And even from the outset of the play, this is not, if you're aware of what's going on around you, this is going to be more than likely the right side is going to be the only side that can give up pressure, because everything else is just moving parts towards the left. But these are one-on-one matchups. And one of the biggest things that you'll always hear about blocking on the offensive line and rushing as a defensive lineman is when you're one-on-ones. When you're one-on-one, you have to win. In this situation, you have a 3 technique. Your best option, all things considered, and of course hindsight's 20/20, but all things considered, you should be taking a kick step to cut him in half from your position. By doing that, getting back, getting yourself a little bit of space with your hands up, ready to fire and punch at the D lineman, you give yourself a little bit more in terms of being able to see what's going on with his pass rush. Look at this position you have here with the right tackle. Everything's in front of him. He can see. Even if this guy loops over the top to try and come on a game, he is in position to push himself back up towards the line at a 45-degree angle to meet you here to level out and pass this game should he loop around the top. Now, what happens here is once he turns that hip, you can't get help from your center. He's cut off because he looks to you to help. He's looking, but you're dead in the water. When we played Denver, my second year in the league, I was at left guard, actually. And this was like a running joke that we had. If you get beat instantly, you are obligated and you owe the quarterback an SOS. So if you get beat and he's getting a free run, you got to yell to the quarterback, Nick, throw the ball. So the quarterback knows, hey, get that shit out or run because somebody is coming scot-free. With this situation, you're dead in the water at this point, my friend. This is a natural game. He sees this space in here, this DN, and says, I'm going to go and try and get in that space. Well, he sees a lot of that space because this D lineman is running in a straight B line towards the quarterback. So, when you're stacked on, when your feet are stacked, when you don't have a good base, when you don't get into your set before you make contact with the defensive lineman, this is the kind of thing that can happen. And AJ Cann is a good player. The Jaguars extended him. I got nothing but respect and love for him as an O lineman out there doing his thing. He knows exactly, what happened with his pass set. I'm not pointing out anything that he doesn't already know. And, at the end of the day, this is one of those situations where it's a worst case scenario for an offensive lineman. There's nothing he can do about this. Obviously the Jaguars have lost Nick Foles. Damn shame, hurts my heart, but little bit of a gold nugget on the end of that. The backup rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew, this guy came in the game and balled out. So definitely looks like they have a solid guy in Gardner Minshew, a guy who has some presence, who played some big football yesterday when he was called to come in, when his number was called in an emergency situation. And Jag fans should definitely take solace in that. Now, subscribe to The Observant Lineman. I am your Observant Lineman, Uche Waneri. Thank you very much for coming in and checking out this quick update on the Jaguar situation with Nick Foles. And we will talk to you on the next video. Peace.